Good morning, everyone. I'm Olive Fickle.
And I'm Johanna. We are here from the Voter Involvement and Education Committee to inform you on the issue of Americans not being educated enough on politics today.
In fact, a study done by Pew Research Center shows how voter turnout in midterm House elections went down 48.1% in the past few years. This is because of the lack of education and interest Americans receive on politics in the United States. People are only being informed about presidential elections and the good parts of American history, though there is much more to our history and current issues than many realize or learn about.
We as the Voter Involvement and Education Committee want to increase the knowledge of politics for all ages, specifically young adults like us, and spread more awareness on political activity happening in America and in the past.
Yes, that's exactly why we are here, to show that politics and American history can become enjoyable for all ages, not just older Americans. Studies have shown that 67% of our presidential election votes are upper class and or elderly. However, they only make up 11% of our eligible voting population. Why is this the case, Johanna?
Well, we believe that this is due to voters' lack of political awareness. Citizens often do not realize how politics affect them in their day-to-day lives. Right now, politics are viewed as something outside of citizens' lives and a second thought to young adults. Many don't even give interest to the idea of politics. So how are we going to make learning about our current events along with history enjoyable? Well, to get more people to learn more about America and its government, we must create a class in school that is enjoyable and gives young adults ways to get involved with hands-on projects with the government and local issues. Many schools have government classes like AP Gov and other things, but they are not in depth about real-world problems and aren't enjoyable, but teach more about the boring parts of government. We would incorporate the projects that involve going on trips to Washington, D.C., discussing problems with our state representatives, going to places to see how people vote, doing projects on solving problems in our communities, and much, much more. This class would allow students to have a say in what they would like to do so they find politics interesting and enjoyable. This would be a required class and another option for a social studies class.
That sounds like a really good idea. Young adults are going to be the new voters in America, and they can make a big impact on decisions. That's why we need more opportunities for those of voting age to stay involved and even learn before they can actually vote and after they vote too. Voter turnout in general has been at an all-time high since 1970. But only 46% out of our 100% of Americans are actually voting, and 30% of those are still elderly Americans. That means that more than half of our country does not vote during elections, and many who do not vote are young to middle-aged adults. The reason why it's so low is that Americans don't get involved or educated enough until later years in their lives. Most of them aren't even interested in politics at all. Many young adults especially are not interested in politics, and the reason for that is there aren't many opportunities for them to learn. Older people are more interested in our American government and history because so many electors target them, and they look for more information on politics. A lot of issues that are on the policy agenda greatly affect older generations, and though younger generations can feel left out, those same things that older generations are voting for will eventually affect them too.
I agree with that. I also think that presidents should also influence young adults too. Former President Obama targeted younger Americans by providing more information on social media and actually going to schools and getting involved with students. Also, similar to what we have discussed, the Washington Post says that fewer than 1/4 of eligible voters aged 18 to 40 voted in the 2016 election, which is one of the most populated elections in American history. That means that 3/4 of the voters who voted were elderly Americans. That means that elders are choosing what a democracy is like, and that needs to change. We need to focus on younger Americans and inform them more so we actually have a democracy.
I totally agree with that. If older elite Americans are the ones choosing what our government does, then our country won't even become democratic anymore, with not everyone having a voice. And as we said before, we are going to turn this country into a better democracy by providing more information on politics and by giving a new class for schools, which will be enjoyable and allow students to pick what they like. These classes will allow students to learn more about political issues around them and how to improve the problems. This will allow students to be involved with politics and discuss their opinions. Older generations shouldn't be the only ones deciding on political issues.
Overall, elder Americans are the main Americans voting, and that is hurting our democracy. Soon they won't be here anymore, so we need to promote more education for young Americans. We also don't want older Americans being our decision makers. We want everyone to have a say. By doing that, we need to educate young adults by providing opportunities in class that allow students to be involved in voting or government actions at a young age. We want students to enjoy being there and learning about our government. By doing this, we will give students the chance to have their own options to learn about American history and current politics. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you will support and start educating more Americans on politics so we can have a powerful democracy to come.